6.1, Part 1, Example 2 says to find the other 5 trig function values of theta, given that theta is an acute angle of the right triangle with sine of theta equal to 2/5. Well, let's see, what do we know about sine of theta? Well, remember, sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse. So if I draw a right triangle here, and if this is theta, then my opposite is going to be that 2, and the hypotenuse would be 5, and we can use the fact that a squared plus b squared equals c squared to solve for the missing side there, the adjacent. So I'm going to label my triangle here. And so I'm after side b. So when I do a squared plus b squared equals c squared, we got 2 squared plus b squared equals 5 squared. And so we're just going to work this out. So b squared is the square root of, b squared is 21, and then to solve for b, but we got to think about this because we got plus or minus the square root of 21. Now, I didn't point out in example 1, and I probably should have. We didn't have to worry about the plus or minus on it because we were solving for c, and c was our hypotenuse, which is also the same as our radius if you think about a unit circle, and so therefore it's always going to be positive. But when you're dealing with the opposite and the adjacent, the two sides of the triangle, the x and the y, you got to decide if you're going to use positive or negative. Well, it told us that this was an acute angle, which meant it's in the first quadrant. So therefore, we know that the x value or that b value is going to be positive. So we're going to use that our side there is going to be the positive square root of 21. Alright, and so we can find the other 5 trig functions. So I'm going to go ahead and just rewrite sine because I like it to be nice and neat as far as how it looks. And so we know that sine was 2/5. So then when we do its reciprocal cosecant, we know it's a reciprocal, or we know it's hypotenuse over the opposite, so it's going to be 5/2. Cosine of theta, remember, is adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent was the square root of 21, hypotenuse is 5. Secant is a reciprocal of cosine, so it's going to be hypotenuse over adjacent, so it's going to be 5 over the square root of 21. Again, you got to rationalize that denominator. And so we get 5 square roots of 21 over 21. And then we get tangent of theta. Remember, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So it's going to be 2 over the square root of 21. Can't have that radical on bottom again. And so when we do this, we get 2 square roots of 21 all over 21. And then cotangent is a reciprocal of tangent, so it's going to be adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent over opposite, so it's going to be the square root of 21 over 2. And so there are my 5 other values that we did not have.